We can find out whether they had a split tyre strategy on that, whether Brendan was on the 8s, because I just had Bruce Ioane in my ear. He's talked to the guys at Peugeot and said that they don't think they would have any chance of warming up a hard tyre in the 10 minutes allowed. So I wonder whether maybe somehow the number 7 Toyota did find temperature in it. I can't remember which car we saw early that's got the red sidebands on, that's got hards on. So the Peugeot clearly is saying we can't do that, we will need to use the medium. It's going to be interesting. Let's hear from Nyck de Vries, see what he's thinking.
Okay, Nick, I think we need to do out, warm, push. Otherwise, we have only 2 push laps.
Yeah, so tyre management is critical here. The sun is starting to go down. You can see it's looking a little bit more golden out there. And the temperature, the track temperature is starting to fall, the air temperature as well. And that's critical for getting these harder tyres that the teams are choosing to run. It's a bit of a gamble. And this circuit is going to reward you, like Spa does in many ways, for running a harder construction. As you can just see there running on board with Nick really working the car, both on the way into the corner and the exit, the rear trying to desperately snap away from him. And that's because the surface of the tyre is cold. It makes the tyre much more rigid in its construction when it's cold, a bit like a squash ball. If you keep whacking it against the wall, it heats up a bit with that kinetic energy. It squashes and becomes malleable, and that creates a stickier surface to the ball, and that's exactly what's going on with these tyres. A higher speed track is going to work the shoulder of the tyre more, but so that's where a softer tyre is just going to start falling over itself, but it will warm up faster, and that's the conundrum they have. At what point, it's a bit like running a slick tyre on a damp circuit. If you can get temperature, it's going to reward you, pay you dividends in performance. Yeah. But on a softer tyre, you get the warm-up, you get that banker lap in. So that's the risk they're playing with right now.
It's big wiggle as they got the power down at the final turn to start the first flying lap from Alex Lynn in the Cadillac there.
Yeah,
but in fact, under control, away we go.
On board with Matt Campbell, so let's ride around this circuit. He's the first car in clear air, and so where's he going to make a difference?
Well, at the moment, the difference he's going to make is bringing these tyres in gently. You don't want to cause any extra graining. You can easily do that on the colder construction, on the colder surface of the tyre. If you start over sliding them, it's just going to start to open the tyres up a bit too much as you scratch them across the surface. So what he's doing here, and all the other drivers, they're driving gently, and they're trying to get temperature into the bulk of the tyre, so the body of the tyre, but not damage the surface of the tyre. That's the key here. So you can see he's not over pushing the tyres at all, and that's why we're not going to be really focusing on lap times initially. It's all going to come at the end of this session, particularly for the drivers and teams on those harder compound tyres.
One to watch, by the way, is the number 93 car, the hands of Jean-Eric Vergne. It was the one car that did not come out with the other group. It waited and has got space ahead of it on track.
And that might, well, it means that there are fewer distractions. He's got room to go out and play, and what difference is 10 seconds going to make? They have obviously worked out the fact that if he does a certain amount of temperature building laps at a certain pace, then he will still get the same number in, and he'll be out of dirty air. And again, look, the number 7 car, this is the beginning of its second flying lap, and he's still weaving down the straight to get temperature.
Remember, we're looking at times just sub 140, and 148 is the best so far, so nowhere near the time it's going to see for pole position.
Giovinazzi is at it as well, weaving around on the straight. It's a good time to do that, get that energy to the shoulder of the tyre on the straight line. When you're at highest speed, you've got the most downforce on the car at that speed, and it gives you a good opportunity to really lean on the tyres without scratching the surface of them. So that's what they're all playing at right now. With 5 minutes to go, their main concern still is getting the grip from the tyres they know they can get later on.
Anthony, how much do you compromise where you start on the grid for what you need in the race? Because you have to use these tyres. You have to use them. If they're medium, they're going to last less time. If they're hard, you qualify more slowly. Where's the payoff? Who makes that decision?
Well, it is a long race, like we know. It's 1,812 kilometres long, so we're thinking 335 laps for the race. So yes, it is very, very long, but it's incredibly hard to overtake in this hypercar category now. You haven't got DRS, you haven't got an overboost button from your battery pack, so they're all very limited to the same speed pretty much on the straights. Very, very hard to overtake, as we've seen last year as well, and there are more of them than ever before with 19 cars. So yeah, I think even if it's a longer race, getting your car into a high enough position on the grid, to a certain degree,